Fung family.
Huh?
I'm just messing you. Look, guy's face is like, Fungs? Huh?
Stop talking to me.
Sheila, do you like school this year?
It's okay.
So, do you like school this year? That's seriously what you sound like. Just shut up.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2015 comedy film Vacation, a film that is directed by John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein, and it stars Ed Helms, Christina Applegate, Skylar Gisondo, Steele Stebbins, we have Chris Hemsworth, Leslie Mann, Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Charlie Day, Norman Reedus, and a whole host of other names that you will potentially recognise. Now, this is a misunderstood movie review. Now, these series of movies, for those of you who know the channel, is when I try and shine a light on a film that I think has been unfairly treated for any number of reasons. Films that have been a failure at the box office, but might have been more critically lauded, or films that completely was missed by people at the box office, but critics really enjoyed, or films that were really disliked that I think actually are much better than the treatment that they got. A whole host of different reasons, really. Now, my relationship with this franchise, and for those of you who don't know, Vacation was the attempt in 2015 to, I suppose you could argue, reboot the National Lampoon's Vacation films that were headlined by Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo in the 80s. And they did 4 fairly successful films to varying degrees. They did National Lampoon's Vacation, the European Vacation, the Christmas Vacation, and the Vegas Vacation. And there was a couple of other spin-offs here and there that Randy Quaid fronted that were pretty terrible generally. But they very well loved the Vacation films, and they are comedy films that I grew up on, and certainly the first one and the Christmas Vacation are 2 of my favourite comedies of the 80s for sure, and the Christmas Vacation one is generally one that we watch every year as a tradition to get into the Christmas spirit. It's very funny, as generally speaking they all are. So I was really looking forward to this rebooted version of Vacation, mainly because this time round it focuses on Ed Helms' character, who plays Rusty, the son of Chevy Chase's character from the films in the 80s. He's married to Christina Applegate, he's got a couple of kids, and he wants to relive the vacation he had in the very first National Lampoon's film, where they go to Wally World. So he sets off with his family in a really terrible car, very similar to the first one, and they get on all sorts of misadventures along the way. Really terrible stuff take place and happen. That really sour the whole experience. Now, I suppose there's a few arguments that people have with this film in regards to why they think it was a failure, I suppose. It was too similar to the first one in many ways. I mean, it was essentially a retelling of the first film. And there was a real habit in this era of comedies to do like gross out comedy humor, and some of it was successful, some of it didn't work, and this is a real mixture of that. This film, there's some real gross out comedy here that I thought does work. For example, when they're bathing in the sewage plant thing, I thought was very funny, and there's a couple of other instances that I thought was very funny. But some of it really misses the mark. It's almost like they tried to throw too many gags in. And some of them hit and a lot of them missed for some people, which I thought was probably a little bit misguided. Generally speaking, the Vacation films were at their best when it was the situations they were in that generated the most comedy, and the physical comedy from Chevy Chase, who was a genius when it came to comedy like that. So I thought they actually got the casting right here. I thought Ed Helms was a great choice. Christina Applegate, red hot at the time in regards to comedy actress. Great casting for her as well. And you get some other cast. You get Leslie Mann and Chris Hemsworth cast in the film now. Leslie Mann plays the sister, Audrey, from the earlier films, and Chris Hemsworth plays the husband. There's a nice scene there, if you like, where they meet up, which is quite amusing. And obviously, you get a really nice cameo from Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo. That while it was lovely to see them in the film, I felt it felt a bit flat for the most part. I mean, it worked in a sense of it was there to give Rusty the encouragement he needed to follow through with the vacation and all that kind of stuff. But what they gave Chevy Chase to do wasn't funny, although I suspect he probably ad-libbed a lot of it. But I genuinely think this film gets an unnecessary hard time. It's actually a pretty good attempt to reinvigorate this franchise, and it just kind of missed the mark, and that's probably for a number of reasons, some of which I've already mentioned, but also it's one of those obscure franchises, really, that only people really of my age or real fans of like movie historians that are like really into the comedies from the 80s will be acutely aware of this franchise. It wasn't a franchise that ever really broke through to the mainstream anyway, even though it generated a lot of sequels. There were quite niche comedies at the time, and I think that's probably why it just didn't find its audience. I did think they got a lot right here, but they did make some errors, but it definitely didn't deserve some of the hatred that was thrown its way on release. It's actually a pretty decent watch. There are some truly hilarious parts in it, and I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen any of the vacation films before. You'll enjoy it, but also if you are a fan of the vacation films and you avoided this one because of the negative press it got, maybe give it a go. You might actually be quite surprised by it. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. And, of course, I will be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.